We appreciate everyone taking time out of their busy schedule to show up. My name is Ken Lebo. I'm your moderator, and today's session is Could AI be the Superman for insurance? Um, so we're going to diving into transformative potential of AI in the industry and how it can empower sales, underwriting, and service, while also exploring its kryptonite, those weaknesses or risks that must be carefully managed. We have an esteemed panel. So let me start by introducing myself, and then we'll let the panelists introduce themselves. Um, Again, my name is Ken Lebo. I am the founder and CEO of InsurTech Express. I've been in the life insurance space for 38 years, and our company is a central resource for life insurance technology, servicing a network of over 200,000. So we have a very esteemed panel today. I'm going to start with Nirav. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Nirav Dagli. I'm the founder and CEO of Spinnaker Analytics. We work across the entire insurance industry spectrum, from carriers through channel partners, as well as life, EB, PNC, and medical. Good to be here.
Okay. Jim?
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Curley, and I'm the managing partner of Clearview Partners. I've spent many years in the insurance business, including 14 years at LIMRA and LOMA as the chief membership officer with my former colleague, Kartek. And today I'm proud to say that I'm an executive advisor at Spinnaker Analytics as well.
And Kartik?
Wonderful, Ken. Thank you for having me. And I can tell you, I'm just super excited to share a stage, virtual or otherwise, with you, with Nirav, and with Jim. Kartik Saktaval, Vice President, Global CIO for LIMRA and LOMA, been in my role for 8 years. As you know, LIMRA and LOMA, we're in the nucleus of the entire industry across 80 plus countries. And here in the Americas, we are actively working on an AI industry initiative, right? Bringing the entire industry together. Just like Superman assembling the Justice League, we're just pulling in the industry together and leading the charge on how we can use our collective AI superpowers as a force for good for our industry and ultimately our customers as well.
Great. All right. Well, Kartik, let's start with a quick take. What superpower do you think AI brings to the insurance today?
Yeah, thank you. So AI is bringing us a multitude of superpowers and capabilities, right? Like never before. Technology has been progressing and evolving at an exponential rate, and I think all of us would concur. Imagine doing this just 10 years ago. It would have been a little bit more difficult to do that, right? Technology has been accelerating at an exponential pace. In my opinion, AI has been accelerating at a double exponential pace, right? So some of the immediate capabilities and superpowers that AI affords us is the way to think about AI today, Ken, is not artificial intelligence, is augmented intelligence, right? If there are rote, repeatable operational tasks that you perform as part of your job, think about automating those by virtue of AI, right? If you can free up 10%, 20%, 30% capacity back in your day, imagine reinvesting that capacity in building your domain knowledge with LOMA designation programs or LOMA industry advantage, right? Makes you even more indispensable as a student of the game. So superpower number one is for us to be able to augment our intelligence. Operational efficiencies, just like my man Superman, you do have super speed, right? Tasks that used to take you potentially hours can be reduced to minutes, right? Think about making yourself an editor and not an author for each and every document that you need to issue. Super intelligence, right? So I'm not particularly a smart, intelligent person, but if I can co-opt artificial intelligence to raise my intelligence just a smidgen, I think that's a W, right? That's a win. And at the end of the day, the last superpower I'll say is it's just the strength, right? The strength of AI to be able to help and improve our bottom line through a significant amount of automation opportunities across our value chain.
Okay. And Jim, you have anything to add to that?
Well, I think from the business side, I kind of think of it as this. Research tells us that something like between 6 and 8% of our brain we actually use. So I think about all the data and all the information that sales teams and business teams have that they don't access. And so for me, using AI, and I love it I love the augmented intelligence. What how much faster people can get things done, follow-ups with clients, case management, all of the, as Kartik said, the routine work can be done easily and quickly so that you can really focus on your professional excellence. And so for me, I think it's all about using the capacity that we don't have with our data, like we're not using with our brains. And the other point that I'd make is that if you're not playing in the AI game today, um, you're going to be in trouble because sure enough, your competitors are.
That's a good point. And Nirav, what about you? What do you think AI brings to insurance today? Nirav?
You mute.
It's very difficult to add on top of what Karthik has already elegantly described. I think a lot of folks, to his point, are looking at chatbots and agentic AI that gets the information quickly to your fingertips, which is something Jim is talking about as well. I'll just point out two other areas or algorithms that are beginning to emerge in insurance and are very powerful. One is propensity models that brokers and carriers can use to make sure they're working on the right cases, the cases most likely to place with them. And the second area is of pattern recognition from consumers to producers. There's lots of pattern recognition that we can do that helps us improve our performance. So these two, I think, are quite impactful.
Okay, and you really touched on our next question, Nirav, and you can add to it if you like, which is what's the talking about emerging applications. I mean, the most what's the most impressive or impactful use case of AI you've seen lately in the insurance space? So, can you give us an example?
Yes, so I'll speak to that again. Agentic AI, which is a lot more about finding qualitative text information about features. A lot of companies are working on that. What we think is the next frontier that's emerging very rapidly is quantitative reasoning. And that's where things like pattern recognition and propensity models are really adding a lot of value, being able to demonstrate that. And again, propensity models are examples where you can, as an underwriter or as a producer, work on the apps and cases that are most likely to for you to win. I think that is a very, very powerful area that's going to help distribution and underwriting.
And do any of you guys like to add anything about a use case for AI?
We can talk about use cases as we go through, right? But Ken, I would just quickly like to add, look, there are use cases abound across the insurance value chain, right? And I think it's important for us to keep in mind that AI can truly be a difference maker across the value chain, unlike like a specific digital transformation, if you will, where you digitized one part of the value chain and didn't necessarily pay attention to the other. The benefits and the opportunities are equitable, right? So that's number one. Number two, Jim said something earlier about if organizations are not in the AI game, they need to get in on the field, right? And I will add on to that and say, I don't know if organizations have a choice, right? We can't be the people in 1999 sitting around a table and going, "What's this internet thing all about?" Right? Do we really need a thing called the website? You have to do it, right? It's just standard operating procedure for us today. But I'll also add, even if organizations don't have an intentional AI program within their organizations, by being beneficiaries of every single vendor incorporating AI into their product offering, you will be an AI consumer, which again, I will say for our listening audience, the value proposition of organizations such as yours, right, at SureTex Express, to be able to be that aggregator, if you will, of all of the providers that are out there is significant. Jim Curley has been doing this in this field for decades, right? With his experience married with his propensity to identify technology winners, right, is pretty remarkable. So you need people with that institutional knowledge that Jim has accrued. And I'll say this even when Nirav is not here. But Nirav, Spinnaker Analytics, they've been at this for a good long while, right? And I like to remind folks that all AI is analytics, but not all analytics is AI, right? But literally, it's 50% of the game and 50% of the name in Spinnaker Analytics. So I think organizations would do really well tapping into organizations like Spinnaker who've been at this for 25 plus years, right? It's a pretty remarkable opportunity for us as an industry.
Yep. And Jim, anything you want to add about any on what you've seen lately on how AI is insurance? I know it's fluid and it's everywhere, but
Yeah.
what would you like to point
A
on? So,
a couple of emerging technology companies that are positioned, I think, very well in the industry. One is an AI-based customer interface solution to be used in call centers and service centers that I think once it is publicly announced is going to be a real significant support for all kinds of customer related services in the industry. And the other one that I'm aware of and looking at now is an AI technology based to compare um, policy values across different companies. So you can do uh, significant in-force block analysis, improve the understanding of what's really in your book. And that technology is going to be very popular with advisors.
okay, well, let's talk about Jim. Let's talk about customer acquisition. So, when AI is deployed for customer acquisition, are you seeing a measurable boost in productivity or accuracy?
I, I think it's a little bit early in the game, primarily because I think as we were talking about earlier, everybody knows about ChatGPT, but there are so many different applications to an AI built in, and we just that we don't know. But here's what I do know for a fact: um, advisors are probably, for the most part, still using old tools and old methods because they've worked for them, and their business continues to grow. So I think what may be lacking, and hopefully will be evolving, is that advisors can use AI tools to really manage customers well, be on top of customer relationships, and provide the kind of service that they have promised, whether they're selling investment products, life insurance products, property and casualty products, employee benefit products. So I think that's a really big idea. And the other piece of it is, and we do a lot of work with Spinnaker in this area, is like, where is the market opportunity? If I'm running a sales organization and a financial firm in Cleveland, Ohio, you know, where are my customers? Where are the new customers? And we would just naturally think about our street knowledge of Cleveland. But using data analytics, using the ability to forecast market opportunity in a different way has been a real eye opener for a lot of clients that we work with. Um, it helps companies find agents. It helps agents find customers,
Right.
and good combination. So those are two things that I think about when I think about customer acquisition and the use of AI.
And Nirav, do you? I mean, with Spinnaker, do you have anything you want to add about customer acquisition? Are you seeing boosts in productivity and accuracy as a result, or?
Yes, absolutely. Productivity, accuracy, and targeting. One of our recent carriers that we deployed the propensity model at ended up growing their sales by 35% without adding a single underwriter or a sales rep. That's only possible because we're using data patterns to identify where the producer should go, who should they target with what kind of messaging, and which cases should underwriters be working on. So I think the technology is already here. And to Karthik's point, in terms of everybody rushing to try and solve for this problem, used to be that carriers would have a 5 year strategy, brokers would have a 1 year strategy. You're going to start seeing, we're at the cusp of things where we're going to start seeing new announcements and new capabilities every quarter. The good news is there's no need to panic. A lot of the technical solutions that are available are very modular, they're very low cost to deploy, and they put points on the board very quickly. You just need to have an open mind to start experimenting with things rather than thinking it's a 10-year commitment and you're going to be held hostage to some new technology platform. It's a lot more like Lego bricks.
Could I build on what you're saying there? I think, a lot of us in the corporate world think about, for example, using AI in underwriting within the underwriting process. But I think there are huge opportunities to deploy AI underwriting tools in the field with advisors for two reasons. One, in the old days, agents were called field underwriters. Their job was to collect the data, fill out the applications properly, A lot of that's changed. So just think about the use of AI in the basic data collection area for a sale. It's just going to be so much faster and so much more accurate. And I think that's an example of developing tools that advisors can use to be efficient and to be more accurate, which is going to help the whole value chain all the way through the underwriting and issue process.
All right. Well, let's move on to human and AI dynamics, and basically, maybe I've watched too many Terminator movies, and we don't want it to become self-aware and wipe out the human race. But how do we see the best way for human and AI to interact and help each other? So, Kartik, why don't I just start with you on this? What do you see on that?
Thank you. Let me just pull a couple of threads together that Jim and Nirav talked about, right? So number one, let's just establish the fact that our industry, we're not manufacturing widgets, right? It's a human to human, person to person industry. Relationships matter between the advisor and the customer. Relationships matter between the agent and the customer. Relationships matter when somebody in their most dire time on their lives calls your customer service center or your claim center. No one's calling to say, "Hey, Nirav, how's your day going?" Right? They're calling you with a very specific problem, and usually at a really difficult time that they're going through. Right? So imagine the opportunity for AI to be able to automate some of the operational things that your call center reps have to deal with because they're supposed to provide white glove service with fast food turnaround times. They're your brand ambassadors. They're on the front line of intercepting insurance fraud. And by the way, they also have 17 different monitors with 85 different systems that don't talk to each other, right? So pulling those things together, providing them a single pane of glass, if you will, so that they can focus on what they do well, establish that human to human connection, and that's the real value proposition, in my opinion, when it comes to AI. I will also say, from an agent perspective, from an advisor perspective, Jim, you're talking about this. There is the acquisition component, right, and the propensity models, and you have just astonishing numbers. But it's also the ability, if I'm an agent, right, and if I can, I don't know, deploy a bot to remind me of calling Ken and wishing him a happy birthday, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, right, Ken? So early May.
That's true. I remember my birthday. I'm impressed.
Yeah. So I'm like 3 days after you, bud. So if I can have a bot do that, right, that alleviates some of the things that I have to do, or just send me a reminder like, hey, PD Dubs, Ken, wish Ken a happy birthday, buy him a margarita or something like that, right? Those are the kind of opportunities that it'll allow me, free up my time to be able to engage with my existing customers in a different manner. So I see it as a complete augmentation of intelligence. And I'll say, you folks will hear about this a lot, and I'd love to get Jim and Nirav's perspective, right? But human in the center, human in the loop is critical when it comes to AI, not just for issuing and validating decisions that AI makes, but also making sure that you're accounting for who the AI is intended to serve, right? Human in the center, human in the loop.
And Jim, so what do you think about the human and AI interaction? What's the best way that they
Well,
should be working together?
the more I get off the sidelines and begin to learn what's going on in the world of AI and insurance, and also understand what I should be using my own professional business. I think I heard a speaker. Oh, it was it was Kartek at one of the Limber meetings recently, and I think what he said was, "Look, don't think of AI as a business partner. All right, you've got some power tools right next to you that you never had before. So engage with those tools as business partners. You know, if you go to for a medical exam, the doctor uses or the nurse uses all kinds of medical equipment. Probably today, a lot of it AI driven. But what you really care about when you're there is what kind of bedside manner the doctor has, how curious he is about your health, what kinds of questions
Right.
he's asking. So I think that's an interesting metaphor to say from especially from a sales side. The use of the right AI tools can empower the human interaction in a much more supportive and caring, and it'll help with the empathy of it.
And Nirav, what do you think about that human AI interaction?
I think there was, at least a couple of years ago, tremendous frenzy and panic in the industry that AI is going to replace many of the humans. I think that's a bit of hyperbole. Computers were going to replace humans. They replaced a few typists and made us all into typing emails. The work that AI will do now is work that is tedious and sometimes humans either would rather not do or are not capable of doing. All of us can look at charts. We can look at 3 or 4 dimensions, colors and lines and bubbles and X and Y axis. Algorithms can help look at multiple dimensions, multiple types of data variables. It actually makes our job of thinking about stuff a lot easier because it's going to do a lot more of the grudge work. They take care of that. And I think that's why I think of this as it's like Karthik said, it augments us. When I wear a contact lens, my eyesight improves. The lens does not replace my eyeball. We are so far from that. The human brain's ability with all the neurons that we have, we're way ahead of the computing power. But in certain dimensions, in other dimensions, the computing power actually helps us.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, look.
Thought,
Yeah. Go ahead.
you know, we've seen this so many times. Right now, AI is the bright new shiny object,
That's true.
right? It's the sun floating around, right? But eventually, it's not going to be the new shiny object. It's going to be a method to do business, a process, whatever application it is. It's just going to be there. So we just have to move from the shiny object to specific tactical business applications based on what your business needs are. You can be in engineering or insurance or medical, doesn't matter. That's what's going to
Right.
happen.
Now that makes perfect sense.
Hey, Ken, there is a question in the comment side on best
Yeah,
practices.
I did see that. We were going to hit the questions at the end, but if you want to address it, I mean, the question that came in, and I have no problem digressing here for a second. It's a really good question, by the way. It says, what best practices have you observed among carriers, brokers who are successfully implementing AI solutions within the organizations, apart from underwriting? Because I know there's a lot of discussion and a lot of AI around underwriting, but what other best practices have you seen for carriers and brokers? So
I think whether it's underwriting or any other function, the best practices start with what is the business problem or priority we're trying to solve for. As long as the business priority is kept front and center of everybody's objective, the type of solutions and tools required to address that will become apparent very quickly. And then you will not go down this slippery rabbit hole of technology for technology's sake. You'll be able to use it
right.
to solve it.
Preach. I cannot underscore that more, right? I think it's so critical for us to keep in mind that uh, AI cannot be a sandwich looking for a picnic, right? It has to be, you cannot put the technology cart before the business horse. Define the business problem. And at the end of the day, again, AI might not be the solution for what it is that you're trying to solve for, right? Which is unlikely given the fact that every technology is incorporating AI into it. But like
Right.
Nirav said, define, articulate the business problem, and then you can get to a coaching solution.
Well, Kartik, I'm going to ask you the kryptonite question. And e- every superhero has a weakness. So, what's the kryptonite or of generative AI in insurance? Hallucinations, bias, compliance issues. Just some examples. I mean, what are you seeing as the kryptonite for generative AI?
Yeah, I'll talk about a couple of things. Number one, I think it is AI literacy, right, across organizations. Look, AI is new, and yes, it was shiny primarily because AI is not new within the industry, right? We've been doing AI for a good long while. I think generative AI, ChatGPT in 2023 truly democratized artificial intelligence for the masses, captured hearts and minds, and which is why it's now ubiquitous across the value chain. what I think it's important for people to know is it's important to invest in at least understanding how to use and capitalize on the tools, right? Because the tools are going to be available to us. You don't can AI get super expensive super quickly? Sure. Do you need to, get a second mortgage to start using AI? No, right? You can use Microsoft Copilot today within appropriate bounds of whatever your organization allows you to do. So it doesn't have to be prohibitively expensive to start playing around with AI, right? So AI literacy is going to be important. JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, smart guy, like every new employee after they've done with their HR onboarding goes through some level of generative AI training. They're not making data scientists, right? They're teaching people how to use the tools of the trade. So, number one is that. Number two, our industry hasn't really treated data with respect, like at all, right? Every single carrier, if you ask them, where's your data? They're like, oh, data somewhere, nowhere, anywhere, wherever, all at the same time, right? Data quality is suspect at best. And there's one thing if I could make T-shirts of, it says, yeah, I will say, great AI plus bad data equals garbage AI. Period. End of story. Right. So I think organizations like Spinnaker, the value proposition is if they're in your organization to try and evaluate where you want to go in furtherance of your business direction, they will be able to tell you your data is a hot mess, right? And you would be well served to listen to them because you're not going to be able to do anything cogent with AI without good data. So number two is data. Number three, it's managing the change curve, right? So as AI becomes ubiquitous across the value chain, things will change. My job will change, right, for the better, right? Our jobs will change for the better, just like when the internet came about, just like when email came about in 1995. You had those little people with the cards that used to deliver mail, right? People
Yeah.
with the little cards delivering mail. But I think it's important to keep in mind, like, can you imagine your life today without email? AI is going to be the same way, right? You're going to have AI all the time, everywhere. So it's important to help shepherd your organizations and manage the change curve that's going to be associated with it because things will change, right? And people say they like change, but no one wants to change, right? So definitely keep that at the forefront.
It'll be woven into the fabric of everything we do,
100%.
is what you're saying. And so, Nirav, do you have anything to add to that?
I think just a practical step that we take at Spinnaker, which is as the algorithms become sophisticated, often companies wonder about trading off explainability with predictability. Something can predict something very accurately, we think, but we can't really explain it. For that, we always run multiple models in parallel so that we can always compare and contrast and say, how are the models differing from each other? The one that explains better, are those factors truly driving the outcome that the other model is predicting will happen? So, my suggestion to those who are not in the tech business is if you're skeptical, if you don't understand AI, that's perfectly fine. When you're driving a car, fuel injection should work much better than carburetor. You don't need to figure out the fuel injector for that. You should hear the engine, it's running smoothly. I think that's the approach you need to keep in mind. If you don't understand something, perfectly ask questions. It is your business. You deserve to understand and be comfortable with the outcome that the models are predicting. And that's what we always focus on.
Gotcha. And Jim, anything you'd like to add?
Well, I think just pick up on a little bit of what Nirav was just saying, as it relates to knowledge. As for those in the audience that are business oriented, they're not on the IT side or the tech side, or they're part of the big AI team that some company stood up, 7 months ago. Make sure that you're clear on what your business issues are, and if you're using support teams, most of us will be, make sure that those individuals really understand the business, because they're going to be looking at all kinds of data. They're going to be building models and algorithms. They need to understand the problem they're trying to solve before they build those things. That's really important. And so bringing together the tech and the business is a really critical piece of what I think is a requirement for this to be successful.
Gotcha. Well, guys, I'm going to give you a time check. We got about 6 minutes left, and but I want to get into this next topic, Kartik, with you about ethical integration, governance, and transparency. What are some real world strategies to integrate AI ethically and pragmatically into your organization?
Yeah.
Whether you're a carrier or a broker, I mean, what would you say to that?
Yeah, look, I'll say level set. Number one, our industry, we should be super proud, is an ethical industry, right? Limra, we did research a couple of years ago, and carriers prioritize ethical issues when it comes to AI versus everything else, performance issues, methodological issues. So take stock in that. Two, I think it's very important to have a clear line of sight into your business strategy and how AI can be an enabler and boost your business strategy as to equip it, right? I think most organizations, especially the ones that have had better luck with data strategy and governance programs, have been able to segue them into AI governance programs structurally within your organizations. It's also very important to educate your employees on what AI is and what AI isn't. So demystify that a little bit, right? Especially when it comes to not just what they cannot do with AI. I think most organizations now have an AI safe use policy, especially when it comes to what they cannot use AI for, especially internally to your corporate network. But more importantly, what should they be using AI for, right? So enable them, equip them to be able to start leveraging that within their value chain. Limra and Loma, with our AI industry group, we now boast 120 plus business and technology executives. We continue to convene on a monthly basis, and our work right now is to develop and co-create these industry best practices, right? So if you have a limit.com account, you are free to go download some of our best practices and peruse them and apply them within your firm if it's fit for purpose.
And Nirav, is there anything you'd like to add about that?
I kind of, for larger organizations, see a three-tiered structure. At the top of the house in corporate, you'll have folks that are determining governance, what platforms are generally to be used for what purposes, in a very general, broad sense, in order to protect the company. Security is a very important piece here as well. Then there's a middle tier where analytics developers, and by that I don't mean programmers, but predictive analytic algorithm developers and deployers who understand the business. They should not be so far removed from the business. They should be very intimate with the business itself. So they're truly solving business problems rather than solving technical problems that are cute but don't address the business
Right.
need. And then very customer facing, whether it's call center, whether it's producers, they need to become analytically savvy users of the tools that the middle tier is providing, that the top tier is governing. I think it's very important to keep that division of labor in mind. It doesn't do well when you try to concentrate everything in one or the other place.
Okay, so we're going to do some quick round robins on a couple of questions. And Jim, I'm going to start with you. And really, what we want to talk about is what's next in AI. So, what's the one thing you're doing this year to better prepare your company for a future with AI, whether it's infrastructure, sales, underwriting, finance, compliance, etc.? What are you doing?
Well, I'm challenging my clients to make sure that they understand where they're going with it, and to start small and learn.
Okay, and Kartik?
Yeah, we continue to educate the industry and internally as well within our organization, looking for opportunities. Where there is a small investment, but a big win in a safe and effective manner, making sure that these are internally operationally focused. And then externally with the AI industry group, as I mentioned, we continue to develop these best practices and frameworks for the industry by the industry.
And Nirav? Go ahead. Right, Jim.
Kartik, and you've seen it, is that these industry groups have a way of coalescing so that the leaders of the topic can teach the people in the middle and in this case, I think it's not okay to be slow, but it's okay to be measured and appropriate and
Of course.
learn from others.
100%. And plus, a rising tide carries all ships, right? So we're going to essentially level the playing field when it comes to AI for the industry.
Absolutely.
And Nirav, what are you doing with Spinnaker? What are you guys doing?
There are two things we're hyper focused on. Number one, we don't want to do anything our clients can do, because then let them do it. We're not underwriters, we are not actuaries, we are developing AI and predictive analytic tools. Number two, we don't want to do anything that other vendors can do. We don't make our furniture, we don't make our laptops. We're focused on algorithmic solution to solving insurance business problems. As long as we keep that focus, we keep on learning, like Karthik said, we keep on growing but not in the wrong direction, always in the direction the clients will most value us.
Okay.
And with very premier clients, I might add.
Good point. So, all right. So let's give the audience some takeaways. What would you like them to take away from today's session and take them back to their organization? Kartik, let's start with you.
Yeah, so AI is here to stay. It's going to continue exponentially increasing and exponentially adding value across the value chain. So, number one, to begin, right? You don't have to spend a significant amount of time and treasure to be able to get comfortable with AI. Number two, AI literacy is going to be very important, right? So continue investing in building that. Number three, one of my favorite things to say is that you know, AI and robots are thinking machines that try to feel. Humans are feeling machines that try to think, right? So, as Jim mentioned, increase your domain knowledge, build and develop your soft skills. I mean, think about what we're doing here, right? Community, collaboration, partnership, leadership, ethics, morals, values. These are core human traits that no AI anywhere, anytime will be able to replicate, right? So, double, triple, quadruple down on those. That's what makes us human.
Yep, good point. Nirav, what would you like people to take away from today's session?
Unlike Karthik, for most of my life, I have been a thinking machine that is just now trying to feel. So, Karthik, thanks for that. I think I agree with Karthik. AI is growing exponentially. It's going to add a lot of value. But first, don't panic. Second, identify, focus, prioritize what your business priority is. The solutions will become apparent, visible, and if they are not, call us. We'll tell you what is it that you can use to solve that problem.
Okay, and so Jim, on the one thing I'm reading some comments that some people left here, and I always like to address whatever the audience writes, and I see about questions about the maturity of AI. It's because it's new, and that there are so many use cases, which is exciting of what's coming. When we look at uh, what people are taking back to their office, and like I keep saying, it's fluid. And as far as what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing from you guys, what is it that you would? I mean, what kind of advice would you give?
Well, I think so. One of the guys said, "Don't panic." I think that's the first thing. The second thing is,
Yeah.
uh, you know, feel responsible for understanding what AI can do within your sphere, your job, your role. Right? So, and I think we are going to miss an opportunity if we don't leverage the brain power and the capabilities of the younger generations of people that are coming into our industry who have natural comfort with technology, and they've come out of colleges and universities that they've spent some time learning about all this stuff. Listen to what they have to say, challenge them, have them bring you ideas. So I would say from a leadership standpoint, challenge the organization to think creatively and encourage individuals within the organization to bring ideas forward. I'm sure you'll be amazed at what they come up with, and then actually listen to them and do some testing.
Okay. Well, the last thing I want to ask, and usually the takeaways are the last thing, but I think people want to know what trends are. And like I said, I know everything is fluid. What may be a trend today may not be a trend tomorrow with AI. But is there anything that you want to bring to the attention of the audience about trends and AI? Kartik, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, so a few years ago, we were dealing with the OG AI, right? The traditional AI, machine learning, or what have you. Look, AI is a sprawling, vast field of study, right? It's not a monolith. And obviously, then came generative AI, large language models that have dominated the oxygen in the room for the past couple of years. Nirav said it earlier at the outset. AI agents and agentic AI, which is essentially an orchestration engine for these independent bots, for the lack of a better word, right? I was going to cringe when I say bots with agentic AI or AI agents, but in effect, that's what they are. They're autonomous entities that can go off and do very specific tasks with direction, but they're also aware and of their context and surroundings. So We have a LIMRA Luma Market Facts article out this month that introduces the topic of AI agents and agentic AI. I urge folks to go check it out.
And Jim, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I'd like to suggest a trend. I hope this will become a trend. It may
Okay.
not, right? But I'd like the trend to be, as Kartik said, put humans in the center, right? Because if we're in the center of this, we will master it. We'll be comfortable with it, and we'll take advantage of it. So that's the trend I want. I want to move people to thinking about a partner, not as something that's going to take my job or take over the industry.
Okay. And Nirav, anything you want to comment on trends on what you're seeing or want to see?
Three trends from what generative AI is largely doing on the text side. It's now beginning to do on the image side as well. Okay, so predicting developing images, which would be a huge help in functions like marketing, branding, visual messaging to consumers as opposed to written. The second area is related to sentiment analysis. The pattern recognition algorithms are getting better at understanding sentiments. I don't want to get ahead of the curve because sentiments are very, very nuanced culturally, geographically. We have somewhat of a long way to go, but that's beginning to happen. So any business that's consumer facing will benefit from that, but that'll take a bit of a time. And then the third area that we are very excited about, that's what we are working in, is on the quantitative reasoning. When Jim mentioned earlier, we don't use more than 5% of our brain, we routinely find clients don't use more than 5% of their data. Everybody's out chasing shiny new toys of new data and spending millions and millions of dollars on that when patterns can be identified with their existing data that'll help them do a better job tomorrow, not 18 months from now. So those are the three trends.
Okay. Well, look, I want to thank you all for supercharged discussion. AI may not be wearing a cape, but today we've seen it certainly save the day if used wisely. So stay tuned for more on how to ethically and effectively bring AI into your insurance toolkit.
I love it, Ken. We gotta start off at where we started, right? So World
Yeah.
Superman Day, April 18th, baby. So
April 18th. All
April 8th.
right, Superman. Thank you, everyone.
My pleasure.
right, Ken. Take care.
Karthik, is that tattooed on your chest?
It is. You weren't supposed to see that, but up and away.
Up and away.
Thanks, guys.
Bye,
Right.
guys.